Morning, everyone. Recently, I received a picture from a friend of mine who sent me this embroidered hand towel they saw over the Christmas holidays. Said, "I will be home for Christmas and in therapy by New Year's." Not sure if that simply means the frustration of the time they spent with family, or maybe it's the frustration of the commercialism of Christmas. I know for me, it's been fun over the last couple of days to celebrate with the friars and with friends of mine and to reminisce and to think of Christmases past and maybe even what the future holds in store for us, especially as we begin a new year. But I'll tell you, lately, I've been saying more and more, I remember when. And I remember when my dad would say that, I would just roll my eyes and shake my head and say, just get over it. But now it's coming more and more out of me. I remember when. And on one of my visits with friends, I thought of a situation of this young man who's now an adult, but I remember him when he was in kindergarten. And he was at Mass, and he would come up to communion, and I would bow down, and I would trace the sign of the cross on his forehead and say, "May God bless you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit." We did that week after week. And then one day I said, "May God bless you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit." And he looked at me, and then he took his finger and traced this cross on my forehead, saying, "And my God bless you too." I want to stay with that memory. I want to continue to reflect on that. That was the grace of God in a moment of my life that just impacted me. But I think too often we move very quickly through things. We want to get to the next thing. I don't know about you. I've been in a couple stores already. The Christmas decorations are down. The Easter decorations are already going up. Forget about St. Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. Let's make some money on Easter. But the gospel itself asks us to reflect. Mary reflected. St. Luke tells us a few times in her heart about everything that God has done for her. Today, the shepherds come and they tell her about the vision they saw with the angels. And Mary reflected on these things in her heart. We need to make sure we slow down and reflect. I'm not going to ask you how many of your Christmas trees are down, but they shouldn't be. I'm hoping that your manger set is still up, because we're only on the 8th day of Christmas. We celebrate for 12 days. This is not just a Catholic thing. We have the 12 Days of Christmas song, and yet people have moved through. Christmas is now only a day long, and we need to be like Mary and reflect. Sometimes that's hard for us. We're so used to moving quickly that sitting down and spending time with God can be difficult. We get lost. We get distracted. My first year of religious life, we have, during religious formation, we have monthly days of recollection. It usually starts out with morning prayer and Mass and time for adoration and then some kind of spiritual reflection. We don't have any house chores that afternoon. Studies are put off into the afternoon, the evening. But it's a time for us to spend time and reflect. And I remember my first one. It was so awesome. We had a great Mass. It was a great homily by the priest. And we were sitting there in a time of adoration. And I was having this really neat communion with God. And all of a sudden I thought, oh, what's the next thing we got to do? So I jumped up and I looked at my watch. It was 45 seconds that I spent in quiet before God. I think a lot of us are like that. We can't find the time. We need to move on. We need to do the dishes or do the dusting or watch the football games. Will the dishes, the dusting, or the football games get us to heaven? No. So we need to ask ourselves, what's important? Like Mary, can we sit and reflect on all the good things God has given us? Can we reflect on how he is always with us through all those circumstances in life that we find sometimes even painful? May this feast day that we celebrate, this Solemnity of Mary, allow us that time of reflection to be able to ask her to intercede for us, that like her, we can reflect on everything that God has done in our lives and everything God is doing in our lives. And then like her, be able to see God's presence and faithfulness no matter what our life situation looks like.